Okay, so here are the examples for the dimensional analysis. So just continuing on from the introduction video that you just watched. Now, the first one we have 60 inches equals how many feet? So what we're going to do every single time, and this time it's actually done for us, is we're going to take what we're given, which is that 60 inches, and we're going to write it over 1. So exactly like that right there. Okay, so we always take the measurement we're given and we write it over 1. Now, when we write it over 1, it's going to turn it into a fraction. But what we call this is a unit. Let me write a different color. A unit rate that we just got done discussing. Now we can compare it. And in order to compare it, we need to know how many inches are in a foot. And we all know that there's 12 inches in a foot, but we don't just write inches wherever we want, and we don't just write feet wherever we want. So the point of this slide and canceling is because we need to cancel out our units. So if you remember, we are converting measurements. So we need to go from inches to feet. So we don't need inches anymore. So we're got to cancel it. So if we need to cancel inches and it's on the top up here, it needs to be in the bottom in our next unit rate or our next fraction. So we're going to put inches on the bottom, and that means we're going to put feet up top. So now we can fill in our numbers. Now we can see that comparison that we mentioned earlier, and there are 12 inches in 1 foot. Now we know that inches will cancel because we have inches on the top and inches on the bottom. And now we're left with feet up top, and we will always want to be left with the measurement we want on top. So now once we have done this, this is the awesome part, is we just get to do the math, which is 60 over 1, which we know is really just 60 times 1 over 12, or 60 multiply across over 12. And 60 over 12, if we have a calculator in front of you, you can do 60 divided by 12, and that's going to give you 5. But it's not just 5, it's 5 feet. So that is our answer. So you go up top and you put 5. Now, this time, we don't have the steps there for us, but once again, we're always going to take the measurement we are given, 10,560 feet, and we're going to write it over 1. And we're going to times that by something in order to get miles. Now, you should know from the chart that there are 5,280 feet in 1 mile, but we don't just get to put that stuff wherever we want it. We got to put our units where our feet will cancel so we can end up with miles. So if feet are on the top for the next one, it's going to have to go on the bottom. And that means miles is going to go on top where we want it to. So now we can just fill in our numbers. So we know there's 5,280 feet in 1 mile. Our feet cancel. And so now we can get our answer. And so you're just going to divide 10,560 by 5,280, because if you were to multiply these across, you would get 10,560 over 5,280. And if you were to do that math, I'm going to continue down here, you would get 2. But it's not just 2, it's 2 miles. So that is your answer. So far, so good, hopefully. If you need to pause the video for this next one, well, if we can get it there, please do so. All right, so go ahead and try it if you would like. This one is a little bit harder because there's not a measurement that will go directly from miles to yards, but it's okay. We'll work through that, and I'll show you how to do that one. Now, always take what is given and write it over 1. So we got 4.875 miles over 1 times something. Now, once again, we can't go from miles to yards, but what can we go from? And hopefully you're looking at your sheet and you can see that we can go from miles to feet. And so we're going to do that first because we will notice that we can go from feet to yards. So this one, we're not just going to have 2 unit rates or 2 unit rates or 2 fractions. We're actually going to have 3. So the first one's the one we start with. So now we need to get rid of miles. So if miles is on top, in the next one, it needs to go on the bottom. And we're going to go to feet. So once again, 5,280 feet are in 1 mile. Now you will notice that my miles will cancel. And we have feet, but we don't want feet. We want yards. So we're going to have to set up a second fraction. So now we need to get rid of feet. And we can go from feet to yards. And the conversion for that one is going to be that there are 3 feet in 1 yard. Hopefully you can see that on your metric conversion sheet. Now, the awesome thing about that is feet will cancel. And we wrote feet on the bottom to cancel it, and we're left with yards, which is what we want. So we're good. Now we just got to do the math. So we need to multiply across. So if we multiply the top ones across, so that 4.875 times 5,280 having to type that one in, you're going to get 25,740 over, and then 1 times 1 times 3 on the bottom, which is going to give you 3. So you're going to take that 25,740 and divide it by 3. And so you get 8,580 yards. And so that's how many yards are in 4.875 miles. So if anybody ever wants to know that, or if you're going to, go run that many miles, now you know how many yards, or how many, you divide that number by 100, you know how many football fields you've ran. So that's why we're doing this. And then the last one, we got to forgive me there, pay special attention to what is going on in this one. So we're trying to go from square feet to square yards. So hopefully everybody notices we have introduced square and square. Now, we always take what we're given, which is 360 feet, which is squared, and write it over 1. Create that unit rate. And we need to multiply it by something. Now, can we go from square feet to square yards? Yes, there is a measurement between feet and yards, as we just noticed on our last one, but we need to make sure we're putting the right stuff where it needs to be. So feet squared needs to go on the bottom, and yards squared needs to go on the top. Now, please make sure you don't forget your squared. Now, we know that there are 3 feet in 1 yard. But this is where we got to be careful, because it's not asking for 1 yard to 3 feet. It's asking for 1 square yard into 3 square feet. And so if our unit is squared, that means that our number also has to be squared. And so that's not really a 3. It's 3 squared, which if you were to type into your calculator, or just know that it's 3 times 3, that number actually turns into 9. And then if you were to do the same thing up top, 1 squared, 1 times 1 is just going to give you 1. So that's the big catch with these. When we are converting units like that are squared, we got to remember to also square the number. Now, you might be asking, well, do we need to square the 360? No, you don't have to. Since that was given to you, that 360 has already been squared. So don't worry about doing it to your original number. You just got to do it to the units you are converting. Okay, so now you just got to multiply across. So you're going to get 360 over 9. And oh, I'm sorry about that. I almost forgot to. We got to cancel our feet squared there so that we're left with yards squared. And those will cancel since one's on the top and one's on the bottom. So now we have 360 over 9. 360 over 9, if you were to go to your calculator. Or you could also know that it's really just 36 divided by 9, which is 4. And then just add that 0 onto the end. But either way, you're going to get 40 yard squared. Or 40 square yards. And so that's how you do that one. That's the conclusion of our examples today. I know this video is a little bit long, but with dimensional analysis, it does take a little bit of time and a little bit of work to work these out. But just please make sure with this example 4 that you remember that if your units are squared, you have to square the numbers that you are converting. Don't worry about squaring the number that you started with, but you do have to square all the numbers that are part of the conversion. So once again, guys, please feel free to email me if you have any more questions. Please, as you work through the Google form after this video, take your time and work those questions out to the best of your ability and let me know if you need anything. Thank you, guys.